I want to take this opportunity this Sunday to tell you the story of some wartime refugees at St Michael and All Angels. In July of this year, I was contacted by a man named Ron Hunt, asking me if I had any information regarding wartime refugees, as he had a friend, Ruth Utting Lawson, whose father had told her that he had been evacuated from Germany on Kindertransport, children transport, and had spent some time at St Michael and All Angels in Wigan. I told Ron that I knew that there had been children evacuated to Wigan during the war from Germany, and also from the Channel Islands, and that I had an album of photographs that had belonged to a lady who lived in the parish and was involved with refugees. She was Marion Seddon. Ron asked if Ruth and her husband, who were visiting Manchester, would be able to come into church to have a look at the photographs. This was arranged, and one morning I gave Ruth and her husband the photograph album to look through. Ruth found photographs of her father Oscar and his brother Hans in the album. What follows is a small part of the story of Oscar and Hans Levy. Oscar and Hans Levy were evacuated by Kindertrain from Gladbeck in Germany. They travelled to Amsterdam, where they were put up with other children in an orphanage, which today is a museum. As Holland surrendered to Germany, and on the day that the Nazis marched into Amsterdam, a remarkable woman, Truth Weissmuller, left Paris for Amsterdam in order to ensure that Oscar and Hans, along with the other Jewish children, were put on the Bodengraven. This was to be the last ship to leave Amsterdam. There were, in fact, 79 children put on that boat. In May 1940, the ship docked at Liverpool. The children were put up in Liverpool Seamen's Mission for a few nights, before a group of them travelled by train to Wigan. They arrived in Wigan on the 22nd of May 1940. I believe that there are articles in the Wigan Observer or the Wigan Chronicle dated the 23rd and the 25th of May, announcing the arrival of the children in Wigan. Oscar and Hans were billeted in St Michael's Church Hall for the duration of their stay in Wigan. The Barlow family, who lived opposite the church in Duke Street, befriended the two boys. I know that Mrs. Barlow also looked after other refugees during the war. The Barlows took Oscar and Hans to their first cricket match and for walks in the countryside, and they were also taken to Bath's Cafe and to films in Wigan. They especially remembered the Prince's Cinema. The boys were befriended by the lads of St Michael's 2nd Scout Troop, who were appointed as their guides for the duration of their stay in Wigan. Ruth writes, I understand that their reception in Wigan was warm and welcoming. Oscar and Hans and the other boys became known as the Dutch orphans as they came from Amsterdam. The children stayed in Wigan for a month before being moved to Manchester. There's a photograph in the album of a party that was given for the children just before they left Wigan for Manchester on either the 21st or the 22nd of June 1940. Oscar and Hans remembered that at the party they were given a gold coin as a parting gift from the people of St Michael's. At a later date, Oscar Levy changed his name to Oscar with a C instead of a K, Lawson. Perhaps this was to try to leave the past behind him. I see two boys standing outside a railway station in Germany. They're clutching their parents' hand, whose other hands hold a small suitcase filled with the bare essentials needed for a hurried departure. The announcement is made for the children to move onto the railway station's platform so that they can board the train. Parents were not allowed onto the platform. There are final hurried, fumbled farewells, last hugs, tears. Anxious hands wave goodbye. The German soldiers are in a hurry to get the children onto the platform. Whistles, steam. The train slowly moves out of the station. Oscar has a memory of his mother breaking through the barriers and running alongside the train. Parents stand in unbelieving, desolate silence. The chugging of the train quickens pace. The sound of the moving train trails into silence. This is a train carrying children's anxieties, apprehensions, fears, and memories into an unknown future. Children reassured by those they do not know. Parents grateful to see their children leave, yet touched by guilt, thanks, bitterness, worry, fear, and love. Oscar and Hans would never see their families again. They lost their lives in the horror of German concentration camps. It is impossible for us to imagine just how Oscar, Hans, and the other children felt as their lives were changed completely and forever, almost overnight. Impossible for us to comprehend or even begin to understand just what these sons and daughters, mothers and fathers went through during this time in their lives. To honour them, we must never forget their stories, or the stories of today's refugees, for their stories are a part of our lives. I've put together this brief story from what I was told by Ruth about her father and uncle. I was later contacted by Michael Swerdlow from Liverpool, who has been asked to gather information about refugees who entered Great Britain by kinder transport. Michael has been asked especially to look at the northwest of England. I believe that Truth Weissmuller's story has been made into a recent documentary which is waiting to be released. Hers is a story that in Britain deserves to be much, much better known. She was a truly remarkable woman.